Hello and welcome to Forward, a podcast all about finding small steps we can take in order to move in the direction of our dreams. I am your host, Lydia Morales. So whether you're running, stumbling, or crawling forward, I am here for you. We're going to figure it out together and do amazing things. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Forward. In today's episode, I am so excited because I am here with Alice Chepeau, who is a mindset and happiness coach. So I am thrilled to have her here because in this podcast, we talk a lot about mindset, moving forward, and creating happiness for ourselves. So Alice, thank you so much for joining me and for being here today. How are you?
Thank you, Lydia. Thank you so much for having me. I'm always happy to meet new people and to be able to chat and share our passion.
Absolutely. Oh, I love that. So why don't we just dive in and why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do and how your life looks like right now?
All right. So right now I have two children, almost 5 and 2. And we live in Ireland, but my husband and I are from France originally, but we met here in Dublin. And I'm still working full time. All right, I'm still working full time in a corporate job in HR. But a few years back, I started to really go into the entrepreneurial route, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Then COVID hit, so everything was slowed down. And another kid, everything got even more slowing down. It was just, but yeah, I'm still there. I'm still keeping at it. With loads of ideas, loads of things I want to do. And so, yeah, I'm doing a bit of everything. If it sounds good to me.
Your mom.
Yeah.
Pretty a full job. Well, since you were in the corporate world, what got you started on this journey to be a mindset and happiness coach? Like, where did it come from?
Well, I'm not really sure how it comes from the coaching. Well, no, I know, I'm kidding. So basically, I think I've always wanted to have my own business. That's something that I can remember for a long time. Like for my studies, for my thesis, I wrote a what's the word in English? When you have to prepare a business plan. Yeah, that's it. So that was my thesis in business school. So I already had an idea that I want to run something. Yeah. Maybe because my dad has his own company, and I loved the flexibility, the freedom, and just being your own boss. I don't really like being told what to do. So I guess that was always in the back of my head. And then after 5-6 years in corporate in sales, I was really not happy. I didn't enjoy sales at all. I couldn't find fulfillment, and I was like, okay, I'm getting married, I'm going to have a family. This is just not the way I want to finish my career on, like being in corporate and stuck in something that I'm not fully enjoying. So I started to think, and I got really, really interested in well-being overall at start with, because I had loads of body pains and skin issues. So I started to really look into getting better, looking at lots of alternative medicines and therapies. And that's where I really got this passion for alternative medicine, food as your healing medicine, all the superfood and all that things, natural, trying to get as little pharmaceuticals as possible. So that was just the start for me of being really into the well-being area. I don't know, I would say. And then at some point I was like, okay, I really can't do with this job. And I think that I have tried so many different jobs. Every time I wasn't happy, I was like, okay, I'm going to do another job. But I figured that this is not working, because it works for a few months when you start a new job. Mm-hmm. But if you don't know what you want, if you don't find, there's no point changing all the time. It's just exhausting and it just doesn't make sense. So I was like, okay, I'm going to stop here and I'm going to figure out something else. So I started, it was in 2016, 17. I took a full year in sport and holistic massage, a diploma with iTech. Mm-hmm. I loved it because the reason I took it, I'm going to tell you why. It was not too much of an investment financially to start with. Okay, it was not like those 10,000 euros courses or anything like that. It was something I could pay from my monthly with my salary. So it was easy for me financially to go through this. And also it was only one evening a week, and I had no children at this time. So one evening a week, practicing, meeting people, and then learning on my own time for a year was absolutely doable for me. So I did that. I enjoyed it. But half through the year, I got pregnant, which wasn't really planned, but that's for another story. I got pregnant. I was 3 months pregnant when we got married. So yeah, I got pregnant, but that was great because I could get massage and teach the other student how to massage a pregnant woman. So that was something good to take. And my son is born, and I did my exam when it was summer of 2018. So he was maybe 6 months old when I did my exam.
Wow.
That's my exam. I was on maternity leave, all good. But then I was like, okay, now I need to do something about it. Like the reason I do this diploma is to actually move towards it. So I had this mindset when I had my son that I could do it all. It's not because I decided to have children that I can't have a career and do all this stuff, like crazy. I can do it all. Like other women do it, I can do it. So I decided to go back to full-time work, learning how to raise a kid, and opening my side business. So I was having 2 evenings a night and Saturdays massage while having a baby at home. Yeah. When I look back, I'm like, maybe you should have thought differently, but I did it for some time. I really enjoyed the massage. It was actually helping me coming down and talking with people. I really, really started to enjoy that. But at some point I got really, really, really overwhelmed because of, a baby, a full-time job, new responsibilities, not knowing how to parent this little human being, and wanting to prove to my company that I could do it. I was the only woman, not the only one with a kid, only women with a kid, only men's around me because I'm in IT. So I had this idea that I have to show it. I have to prove that I can still work as good as I was before that. But I ended up with burnout. And that's when I started then to look into more of the mental health side of things, because I was like, okay, I can't have another burnout with a kid. It's not fair to him. It's not fair to anyone. So that's when things changed. After that burnout, I was like, okay, I need to work more on my mental health, on whatever I need to do to not go back there, basically. So in my company, they were doing some courses to be mindfulness facilitator, to be mental health first aiders, to be coach. And I took all of them because I wanted to really work on that. And I knew this is one way I wanted to go. I didn't want to be in sales anymore. There was just no way for me to stay in sales. I never enjoyed that. So I took everything I could that could help me while learning how to help others. That was kind of the idea in doing all this. I've always thought that whatever I learn, it's too bad to keep it for myself. Even at school, if I know something, I'm happy to share. That just makes sense to me. So yeah, that happened. Then I had, we don't need to know, but I'll say it anyway. After my burnout, I had miscarriage. So it also add on to the fact that, okay, I need to really look into my health and, make sure of that. So short after that, I enrolled in a 2 months coaching program just to get a bit more knowing about this and starting to do the work on myself. So that was back in 2019. Yes, 19, that's it. And then I was still doing also my massage, and then COVID hit. And obviously massage was a no-go. So I had to think about, okay, now massage, I don't know how it's going to go with COVID, and especially with a kid. And then I got pregnant. I knew I was pregnant just by the time we heard about COVID and we got sent back home. So I was like, okay, I need to rethink of everything. Basically, I need to rethink everything. Massage is not going to be a go. And with 2 children, it's not sustainable to make money, to be able to leave corporate. I don't see how it's possible. So I then learned to be a gentle birth instructor. So again, it was just, how can I learn for myself while
Yeah.
also learning how to help people? So gentle birth is a beautiful method. It's all mindset, breath work, beautiful. So I did the course to learn all the different things in labor, and there's loads of medical aspect of it, but I loved it. And that's where I really got into the mindset thing. I never really thought of mindset before, but that really opened me to control what you can control, focus on the positive and all that thing. That really gave me another area of mental health and mindset. Yeah, that's the word. There's no better word than that. So that's what I did. I had a beautiful birth at home for my daughter. And then I figured, okay, gentle birth not for me. So I changed gear again. And I found this amazing coach, and she's a psychologist as well, Elisa Nobriga, and I took a full year coaching certification.
Oh.
And it was a lot of money, and it was my daughter was 2 months old when I started it.
Wow.
So it's been a long discussion with my husband. I was like, I need to do it. I know I need this so desperately. I know it's going to be challenging because it's 2 live calls a week. I'm going to have to learn. It's going to be a year, but it was very supportive. I was so grateful.
Oh.
So I did it again, young kids, and still taking more than I can handle, really. But I would never look back. I never look back. It was the best year ever. I've learned so much about emotional work, mindset, somatic. It was just an amazing experience. And okay, that's it. I love it.
Wow.
And that's how I got into coaching. It was very long, but it's also showing all the different, life happens and how things triggers and how many times I've changed gear. So that's it.
That is incredible. And although you kept changing direction, really, you were still going towards the path that was going to lead you where you are now. And if you hadn't done that first step, you wouldn't be here today, do it. You'd still
That's
be,
it.
So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
incredible. And I love that this journey started with you saying, I don't feel fulfilled at this corporate sales job,
Mhm.
with
Mhm.
with you wanting to take care of your health and your mental health. So I think that that's incredible, and you were on an amazing journey, and I think a lot of listeners are going to be very motivated and inspired by hearing you, because it's okay to change the directions.
Yeah, but not give up and just follow your intuition. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, that's wonderful. And because of where you are now, what would you say are the core things that got you to where you are? Because I know we mentioned a lot, but what would you say are the core things?
Well, I think you have to be very deep or low or feeling very low to actually realize that something has to change. That is sad, but I think when I hear back other stories, sometimes you feel so low that if you don't do something, you're going to a point where there's no return. At something like that. So I had to go through all this, as painful as it could have been at sometimes, but you have to go through this, and you just have to say, okay, I can stand back up. I don't have to stay in this. There's always a possibility to change it. So that's the one thing. It's just you have to go through difficult times. That's what leads you forward, because the pain is what you need to work on to actually move forward. So that's one thing. And then I lost my train of thought. I guess that's mainly it. And it's just along the way I've done a lot of inner work. It's all about, I've learned a lot about my emotional, like if I was, most of us, but we grow up without really being able to present our emotions or to be comfortable with any kind of emotions, And when I discovered that all emotions are okay, that I can be with my emotions, that has been a tremendous step forward for me. And the intuition, I was so much in my head, and I really work hard to say, okay, I need to listen to me, not what it's coming on up there. And those are the three things that really helped me bring me where I am today.
Absolutely. I love that so much. And you're so right. Because sometimes we have the, it's like the saying, like, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of where I am. Like you have
Yeah.
enough. I'm putting my foot down. Something has to change. So,
Yeah.
a lot of us, I feel like, can still get stuck in that place where we don't like how things are, but we're afraid to make a change. We're afraid to be vulnerable and say, I'm not happy here right now. But you have to take that step in order to have that fulfilled life and to move forward. So I
Yeah,
think
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
But it's not overnight either, like
Yeah.
this miserable lasted a long time before I decided to do something. And it's
Mhm.
step by step. Like I said, it started like 3-4 years ago. No, sorry, 10 years ago when I met my husband. Actually, it's also when I met my husband, I realized that I had some responsibility in life now. And it took me 10 years to be where I am. And I'm just
Mhm.
at the beginning of my entrepreneurial journey. I see it like that
Yeah.
because there's so much I had to clear, so much I have to discover. But it's just willing to move forward always and take one small step at a time. That is
Mhm.
really my motto. It's small step at a time, one small step at a time. Focus on one thing, and then it will unravel more things, and then it will just happen. Whatever.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I love saying that too, because, taking big steps can be very overwhelming and scary sometimes. It's like, take the next tiny one, like it will get you somewhere. So
Yeah.
absolutely. But, well, on this journey, was there anything you weren't expecting when you set on this path?
I honestly, I don't know what I was expecting. I thought I was expecting it would be much easier, because I wanted it. So I was like, why not? I didn't expect to have so many blocks and to actually be the reason why things are not where I want it to be. There's no other reason. I just, I am the reason why I am not where I thought I should be. Or, we all have those, okay, in 5 years, I'm here, in 2 years, I'm here. And then, well, life happens and didn't happen. And you're kind of like, what happened? Well, you happened in your mindset and everything happened. All right. Okay. So I think that's it. It's just like realizing that it's not because you have a goal and you're really looking for it that it's going to happen. It's necessarily happening, and you have to be a bit more compassionate and more open to say, okay, I want this, but I don't have an expectation of time or how. Because you have to just follow. For me, it's like if I follow my head, I am not going in the right direction. But if I pause and follow my intuition, then everything is so much easier. But that took me a lot of time, and I didn't know about that. I thought you had to think with your head to get into business, right? But actually, no. For me, you have to think with your heart.
Yeah.
Before anything else.
No, absolutely. And, we have to follow what our gut tells us, and we're taught to just be a logical being, so it is hard for a lot of us to follow our intuition. But once you're doing that grounding and being with yourself, you'll find that you'll discover so much, to be honest, right?
Exactly. It's just like you would never know how much you have inside of you and how much possibilities there is if you just let it flow instead of thinking about it.
Exactly. And it requires a lot of inner work too. Like you said, we're the reason for where we are. So it's like, damn it, I want it to be another reason.
Yeah, blaming someone else. It's so much easier, isn't it?
It's great, but we can't do that anymore. We know us. Oh my goodness. But since you are a mindset and happiness coach, I have been dying to ask you this question, and I would love to know what habits or rituals you have that keep your mindset on track and that keep you, with happiness mindset and whatnot.
Well, first of all, I just want to make sure that everybody knows that it's not like I'm happy all day, every day,
No.
And when I think of that sentence, I think of Sex and the City, if anyone knows where it's coming from. I'm not happy all day, every day, but I'm happy every day. And it's just, it's just having less judgment for others and yourself and more curiosity. Curiosity is the skill for me that you have to really develop.
Oh.
Being willing to understand why and looking at all the possibilities of the why and not just the rational one or the one you want it to be, you know? So you have to be curious of understanding, okay, I'm angry. And it's now I don't want to be mad at being angry, if you know what I mean. It's just that I want to know why. I want to understand. Was just, okay, this is happening. I don't like it. So why is it happening and what can I do about it? So it's all about curiosity rather than judgments. That's very important for me. And when you're caught in the moment, the heat of the moment, and you're yelling, screaming, angry, whatever, there's nothing you can really do. I think it's just you have to go with it, but then you have to be compassionate with yourself afterwards, and then ask yourself the questions. Okay, this happened, but what now, and why, and what can I do now to take the small step to change it? And with time, you take small steps, small changes, micro changes, that becomes a big change afterwards. So that's my habit. It's always like questioning myself. Why did I do this? Why did I think that? And trying to really be okay with even the sides of me that I was judging before. So compassion and curiosity. And the other thing that I love doing now is, because I get very overwhelmed with stuff, because I have so much ideas, so many things I want to do, right? And I'm a doer. I was very much of a doer before. And to focus on one day at a time. The mantra or the quote is, life is about the journey, not the destination.
Yeah.
When I really understood that, the core message behind that, it was life-changing for me, because I was always chasing a goal, like a future, and I was not living in the present. So I really, really focused on being in the now and focusing on what's happening now. And that's why I need to just look at one day at a time. So every morning, when I wake up, I wake up and I smile, because it helps me really, okay, welcome the day, and just say, you know what, I'm not thinking of anything. I just want to be happy to be here. So smiling, and then have some movement just to wake up my body. This just takes a few minutes. Sometimes the kids are here, sometimes they're not, but I always have a little bit of movement to kind of keep me going. And once I've left the kids to school and I'm back to start my working day, I take 5-10 minutes, depending, to just look at all the to-dos I think I want to do. I have a brain dump page where all the things I want to do. And I'm like, okay, today I have this and this in my agenda already planned. How much time do I have left for doing something else? And then I was like, okay, then I want to focus on 1 or 2, 3 things for today. And I really focus on what is the thing that will give me the most satisfaction, the most happiness, or that is the most urgent. You have to choose that. So really just focus in the morning to plan your day. There's very less overwhelm and much more acceptance of where you are, because that's all you can do, but you have chosen by intention what to do that would be the most fulfilling. And it took me years, because I was always resisting routine or anything like that. I'm a very free spirit sometimes, but I really managed to do this, and gosh, it's only 5 minutes, but it's really, really changed everything for me. Just this focus on, this is all I have to do. And again, it's not about being perfect. It's all about, every time I see myself drifting, what happened? And this curiosity of, okay, I'm tired, there's no point me trying to do something, I'm going to sleep instead. But it's all about always trying to figure out, there always has to be a better and easier way to do things. That's how I see it. If it's hard, it shouldn't be. No, I want it easy. So how can I make it easy on me? That's the other questions I ask myself. I don't like it, so I don't want to do it. How can I do it differently, right? So these are questions that I always ask myself on a day-to-day, that helps me ground myself and learn about myself and change, take actions, because awareness is key to change, right?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, that is such wonderful advice. I think the listeners are gonna love that, because I always say,
sometimes the first thing we do when we wake up and hit the alarm is we just want to go back to sleep. We're grumpy. We don't want to get out of bed. We think, and we don't want to get out of bed because we're predicting our day. We already know how that day is
Mhm.
going to be, and we don't want to go through it. And so I think that it's really powerful for you to say, just smile when you first wake up. That's an awesome one. And then, take those 5 minutes to yourself, or however time you can, to be intentional about what you want to do that day, how you were saying. I think that's
Mhm.
really powerful, and I can just tell that it works for you because you're so passionate about this. I love it. I'm gonna have to start doing that too, because sometimes, we do get overwhelmed. We're like, oh my God, I have
Mhm.
20 things to do today. I don't have any time for myself, and so I think those 5 minutes would really be helpful in
Yeah.
this situation.
Yeah, it's just prioritizing what makes you happier, like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'd love to have a perfect clean house, but ultimately it's not going to change anything. If it's, you have to make choices. The
Yeah.
choices are what's better for you, even though you think you have to have a clean house, you think but is it really like a priority in your day to day? That's also another question. What is really your priority? For me, it's like being more present and connected with my children. But to do that, I need to have my things done so I don't have to think about it. And also when I'm with them, I'm with them. So that's what drives me to say, okay, I have to make choices. The house is not perfect. Well,
Mhm.
that's okay. I can take it.
Even if it was with 2 kids and 5 minutes, Oh, well, do you have anything like, do you do the same things when you're feeling stuck in business or in life? Do you have the same strategy that you implement, or do you do something different?
Yeah, so I always go back to emotional work. This morning I posted on my Instagram today, so I don't know when this is gonna air, but
Mhm.
uh, I do, like, I'm going, I'm peeling every layers of my emotional stuckness. I don't know how we call that, but I would call it emotional stuckness.
Yeah.
And I go deep every time. And today I was working on some core guilt thing that my coach advised me to work on, and I just tune in with closing my eyes, breathing, and I have a hand on my heart, a hand on my stomach.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to concentrate on the word guilt, or on the story that I was telling her that brought her to tell me you have to work on your guilt.
Mhm.
And I could feel the energy in my body. Like I could feel my throat very tense. And I was like, okay, let's be curious again. Let's understand what's that energy here for, what's going on. And I was having a lot of ideas. And as soon as I get into tears, means that I touched the point where this is it. This is what I needed to know, and this is what I need to work on.
Mhm.
And I do this in life or in business because in the end, it's all, like we said, it's you are your own block. So
Mhm.
whether it's in life or business or anything, it's all comes down to you and your own blocks, your own fears, and everything like that.
Mhm.
So I really do this emotional work or journaling when I feel stuck. I also like this writing a letter to your fear, writing a letter to your parents, writing a letter to just as like honest, uh, very blunt and raw as much as you want. This is good to release all that kind of a stuck anger or stuck emotion. So yeah, I would mostly do that
Mhm.
um, in every situation when I feel stuck or not good, not happy.
Yeah. Oh, and those are great suggestions. I had never heard of the one of writing to your fear or writing to your guilt. That sounds like a really powerful exercise. I'm gonna try
Yeah.
it. Probably gonna end up crying while
But that's a good thing. Crying is actually, now I welcome my cries. I'm like, oh, I'm crying, so I'm happy because I found the core thing that was holding me back. And now that I am aware of it, then I can do something about it, or I can just let go. So I'm actually happy when I cry. It's like, oh, I finally got it. I get it. So now I can feel free. I feel so much release after crying. It's so good.
Oh, you're like, thank goodness.
Yeah, it's weird, right? But now actually I don't feel bad about crying. My husband got even used to it.
You're like, they're happy tears. You're having like a breakdown.
Yeah.
They're happy tears.
Yeah, it's not sadness, it's just emotional release.
Yeah, there you go. That's how I'm gonna word it going forward.
Yeah,
Oh, no, that is wonderful. And that sounds very powerful too.
it
So
is. Yeah.
yeah, it's so great. Oh my goodness. And I think that that's really going to help a lot of us when we're feeling stuck because it happens all the time. Like just earlier this week, I was like, oh my God, I feel so stuck. Like, what do I do? And, it's about how you're saying, taking those small actions, but really, the empathy for yourself and being curious as to why you feel that way. So those are
Mhm.
really, really good points that you brought up. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
And why don't you let our listeners know what advice you have for those that want to follow in your footsteps, that want to be a mindset or happiness coach?
Um, what could I say? Thing is, I I got there with so many different routes that it's hard to say, but I think it's just you need to have clarity in a vision, knowing what you want, or no, the most like the biggest I go back to it's always emotion. Okay, it's all about using your emotional compass as to it's not about knowing exactly what you want out of life, it's how do you want to feel. Because sometimes we say, oh, I want a better car so I feel better, and then you have another car and you don't feel better,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah.
we think we are so attached to an outcome, but we should attach to how we want to feel, so that and that's was so powerful for me, because I was so attached to doing this, and when I didn't, as long as I couldn't reach it, I was miserable. But
Mm,
I don't want to be miserable for 5 years because I haven't reached my goal. So it's
yeah.
really about, don't think about what you want, but how do you want to feel every day? How do I want to feel? And you have to tune in into, is this making me feel on the green side or on the red side? And you just try to follow this. Like, you have to say no if you don't want it. And then this will lead you to ways that are aligned for you if you always follow what feels good. So I think my if I had to come with one tip, is really following your emotional compass and knowing how you want to feel, not what you think would bring you that feeling, but how do you want to feel, and tuning into that feeling
Mm-hmm.
and get as much and follow the breadcrumbs that are leading you to feeling this, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I think it's great because I think we all need to hear that at one point or another because even even as kids, I remember like I want that toy, and when I get that toy I'm happy, and growing up I want, like you said, I want that car and whatnot. But things don't happen quickly. If we have goals and we haven't achieved them yet and we're so attached to them, how you said, like it's not going to be a fun journey. We're going to be miserable and we're going to be upset and frustrated
Mhm,
instead
mhm.
of enjoying the process, how you mentioned, instead of just being in the moment and really asking yourself how you want to feel. So,
Yeah.
in such a materialistic world, I think
Mhm.
a lot of us have a hard time with that concept, but it really is how you were saying, the quote, it's the journey, not the destination. And
Yeah, I'm a very materialist person, like
Mhm.
less now, but I still like my good stuff.
Yeah.
But again, it's like a journey. It's just like I know how I should, and then sometimes I get a bit, I take the wrong path, but I go back, and it's okay. It's all about, it's okay. There's nothing you choose, nothing you do is wrong. It just is, and then try
Yeah,
your best, but it's okay.
absolutely. Ah, that's so wonderful. I love it. Oh, and why don't you tell our listeners where they can go to find out more about you?
Well, I have my website, it's alicechepeau.com altogether.
Mhm.
I'm on Instagram mostly. I don't do much social media. I have this love-hate relationship and very little time. So I'm on Instagram. and I'm trying to be more on podcasts. So I will display my podcast on my website because I love networking and I love talking. So I think that's where I would try to be the most, being like talking about things and
Mhm.
sharing more than just being on a written facade or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, of course. And to everyone listening, I will have all of the links to the show notes so you can go ahead and check out her website and go find her. And Alice, thank you so much for being a guest here. It was so lovely to have you. And this conversation, it was so powerful and I feel like it hit home.
Thank you. I'm happy to hear.
Aw.
Thank
And
you so much for having me.
you're welcome. Thank you so much for listening, everyone, and have a lovely day. Bye.
Bye.
Today's episode was sponsored by my Create Daily Joy course on Udemy, where you can learn how to put yourself first and find the path to a happier you. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you know where the next one airs, and feel free to tell a friend about it as well. Thank you so much and have a lovely day.